Since the beginning of humankind, farming has been the cornerstone of our very survival. With exponentially increasing populations, farming has followed. And today, agricultural land accounts for 11% of the world's land cover. The increasing unsustainability of agricultural industry is pushing our planet to its limits. The world desperately needs a solution to this growing challenge. Many different diets have been proposed to tackle this issue, especially in the West with the rise of vegetarianism and veganism. However, people have their doubts about the nutritional implications of these sorts of diets. So the question is, can we still consume meat sustainably? And could insects be the answer? Entomophagy is the consumption of insects as part of an everyday diet. It is thought to reach back as far as ancient China. Some believe the Chinese were consuming insects over 3,000 years ago. This idea spread across the globe, and there are even remnants of consuming insects in the Old Testament. When considering how much the Bible influenced early Western culture, it's a surprise that consuming insects was an idea that was lost. The reason for this remains unclear. The idea of eating insects might not have spread far west, but it has reached multiple corners of the globe. 113 countries in and around the Asian continent are known to practice entomophagy as part of their everyday diet. Some 2,000 species of insects are known to be consumed through these diets, and because of their clear successes elsewhere, insects could be the answer to one of the world's biggest problems.
The main issue around red meat, or meat generally, is the environmental impact. It's greenhouse gas production, land use and water use. There are health issues of consuming too much meat, but the main issue is the environmental impact. The only way we've got any chance of feeding a growing population and reducing greenhouse gases is to seriously reduce the amount of meat we consume.
In fact, 250 metres squared of land, 10 kilograms of feed and 15,000 litres of water are needed to support one cow throughout its lifetime. On the other hand, 40 metres squared of land, 1.5 kilograms of feed and just 2,500 litres of water are needed to support the equivalent weight in crickets, just a fraction of the amount. The waste of meat is associated with conventional farming is another big challenge. We spoke to an expert for his opinion.
I don't think that there's a requirement for insect protein to replace animal protein. We currently overconsume by around about 100% in developed countries, particularly in Northwest Europe and North America. So we could considerably cut our livestock product consumption without replacing that protein. Because actually most of that protein is being wasted. We're consuming it when we're basically excreting it because we're over-consuming it.
Insects are very good at converting food into food for humans. They're very efficient. They're much more efficient than ruminants and more efficient than non-ruminants as well. They can be fed on products, waste products, potentially. Depends what insect would be replacing. So if they were replacing ruminants, beef and sheep and so forth, that would be a benefit.
The evidence that an insect-based diet is more sustainable than conventional meat farming is incontrovertible. So the real question is, why aren't we all eating insects? Those of us in the West have a deeply embedded psyche of anti-insect consumption simply because they aren't visually appealing, or they're simply unsure of the nutritional implications. Insects are an incredible source of not only energy and protein, but fat, minerals and vitamins as well. It has been found that 100 grams of chicken contains 22 grams of protein, whilst 100 grams of mealworms contain 66 grams of protein.
There would be some health benefits of consuming more insects, but there'd be some bad things as well. Insects are typically fairly high in protein. They're also fairly high in useful vitamins and minerals, but they're very high in fat as well. So if we were consuming more insects, we'd be having a diet that was higher in fat, it was more energy dense as well.
Whilst this might answer part of the question, there is something that cannot be changed by facts and statistics, and that is a change in mindset. Popular media have set the general public in their ways by demonising the consumption of insects. Popular Western culture has turned eating insects into kind of a challenge as opposed to a potential norm.
So whether insect-based diets could become common practice in the future, I think it depends on where you're looking. So some parts of the world it's already quite common for insects to be part of the diet. In most parts of the developed world I think it's not so common. But there are social norms and social acceptability with eating different sort of invertebrates. So, for example, in France, snails are eaten. In this country, snails aren't eaten because there are cultural differences, which are nothing to do with, the nutrition from those particular products. Maybe if insects are to have a role, it probably wouldn't be in the form of insects as you see them with all their wings and all the chitin exoskeletons. Maybe, sort of ground up powdered insects to use in things like protein shakes. I believe they're already being used in those sorts of products. That might be a more socially acceptable form of using that protein.
So cultural differences and mentality are the key factors separating those that will eat insects and those that won't. To put this to the test, we decided to make our own batch of cookies which contain cricket flour. So we cooked up a batch of cookies which all contain cricket flour for the public to blind test. We placed cookies on 2 different coloured plates and told our volunteers that one set of cookies contained cricket flour and one did not. We then asked them to choose which plate they thought contained cricket flour if they could tell the difference at all.
That's yummy.
Tastes like a good cookie to me.
Feels like a normal cookie. Yeah, which is why. Really good. Tastes like cookies. Delicious. Tastes the same.
It just tastes like a cookie. Like that one was chewier.
Really? I thought this one was chewier.
I prefer these ones.
I prefer these ones as well.
Red plate or white plate?
For the crickets,
Yeah.
I think it's the white plate.
I'm also gonna go for the white.
I think it's this one. Yeah.
I'd say the white one, but that's
I would
only because
probably-
it doesn't taste as firm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what do you guys think about that?
I think.
As a replacement for our traditional agricultural meat.
I don't mind, yeah. I think it's probably just as weird as eating a pig or a cow.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I'm
completely agree. I just think it's with us Western peeps, if it, you think of a cricket and you just go, I wouldn't eat it as a whole.
Would you eat insects like that in your diet?
If it was an ethical thing or something like that, I wouldn't choose to do it just for no reason. I don't know, I don't feel like if I saw normal flour and cricket flour, I would definitely just go for the normal flour.
I've eaten insects before. I've tried it. And I had crickets grilled just on a proper grill, and it was okay. And
They're both cricket flour to be fair, that's why.
Sorry?
They're all cricket flour.
Oh, okay. Well
This
then.
is surprising.
So actually they both have cricket flour. That's why.
Fair.
So we can tell you that both of them are the exact same batch. So they're all cricket flowers actually.
okay.
So as we've seen, people have prejudice when confronted with the idea of eating insects. But there are several challenges associated with switching from a meat-based diet to an insect-based one. The price of insect-based foods are generally more expensive than conventional meat, but this is only because of the low demand for insect-based foods. If the public made the jump to insect-based foods and the demand went up, the price would likely go down. So is the world ready to switch to an insect-based diet? Based on the most recent evidence, it seems that insect-based diets will never make the leap to fully replacing meat-based foods, but may be used as a supplement. But the biggest reason why we may never make the conceptual leap to insect-based diets is because of the single-minded view of Western culture that has perpetuated from decades of an unchanging diet, which has relied too heavily on unsustainable meat production.